I know it's been a while since I've seen you guys, and as usual, I'm excited for this lesson. I am also excited because we're going to be doing things a little bit different, or I shouldn't say be doing things differently, but I'm excited to introduce more structure to you guys, especially as I head into my third trimester, and then I don't want to say maternity leave because I'm far too much of a control freak to be gone that long, but especially as my time becomes a little bit more scarce, I want to make sure that everybody has as close to a me resource as possible. And of course, we have the amazing coaches, but especially in the summertime, I feel like structure kind of goes out the window. And if there's something I know about us neurodivergent folk, especially, it's that structure is something, and tell me if you can agree, that we both crave and it also completely evades us. Like it's something we wish so desperately we can just implement and just have it done and we can just rely on it. Tell me in the chat if you've ever felt like that, where it's like, I wish that I just knew exactly what to expect. I could just follow a protocol and have it be done every day and not have to think. But then our brains get into the picture and it's like out the window into the ether. I know that's how it is for me, at least. So my hope is that I could give you guys something of a plan, but in the Michelle way of doing it, where it's a plan that you don't have to feel so bad about being like rigid with. Because rigidity, usually we're only sticking to rigidity when it's new and it's exciting and motivating, and that is fleeting. So a bunch of us, and again, I'm out of breath because I'm always out of breath these days. So bear with me. But in those of you who have been with me in our summer challenge, you are more used to seeing these plans, right? We've been doing these, I've been posting these meal plans every Friday. And then we do physical and mental focus every Monday. And I've actually really loved giving these, I've loved being able to break them down more on our calls. Whoop. How did that get all hook up there? Okay. Oh wait, if you guys, whoever is changing the view of the whiteboard, just, I don't know how to fix this because I am technologically challenged, but please don't scroll on the whiteboard. Here, I'm gonna leave that up. Okay. God, there's so many new features on Zoom. I swear to God, I am like barely able to log on and host a meeting. At this point, it's a miracle that I'm here every week. Okay, so I've loved giving these because I've loved going in one-on-one on our calls and breaking them down. I know not everyone is going to be a fan of the types of proteins that are here or the types of fruits or veggies, or there's also a lot of dietary restrictions and allergies amongst people like us. So I figured at first I was telling you guys in the challenge, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to get on Zoom and I'm going to cook a bunch and show you how easy it is. And I'm like, I don't do meal prep. So it's not exactly that easy to make like a week's worth of food and without keeping you here for like 3 hours. So then I figured, but what's the implementation strategies I'm giving people on our one-on-ones? Why don't I just make that a Zoom? And while I've been doing this with the challenge, I want to do this going forward. And I've asked you guys a few times if you miss the oh my God, what was it called? The meals of the week or meals of the day, or whatever it was that I used to do in the page. And a bunch of you have said you really miss having somewhere to post your meals and see how other people are cooking. So I'm going to start posting these every week. Sometimes they will be very similar or the same. Sometimes they'll be new with new ideas in there. I'm going to be posting these every week or so in the page so that you guys can comment your own pictures of food or questions or substitution ideas or whatever, and we can keep that open dialogue going. Because I also miss seeing what you guys are making. So I don't know if you're excited about that. Tell me in the chat if that is thrilling to you, because I feel like I've missed meals of the week for sure since it's been gone. Just feels like, I don't know, there was like a whole lot of community around it. So I'm going to be posting this as our meals of the week. You guys comment on there. Sometimes there'll be giveaways, not every single month, but occasionally I'm going to do really cool giveaways in there with that as well. And Yeah, that's something you guys can look out for. Yay. Okay. So let's break it down. Okay. Let me zoom in here. So now, off the bat, people who are neurodivergent tend to get like, you know how have you guys ever heard of like time blindness? Who here feels like they have time blindness? Where feel things, the time like evades you. You have the best intentions of getting X, Y, and Z done within a certain amount of time, and then you look up and you're like, holy shit, it's been 3 hours. Or oh my God, time blindness, it kicks you in the ass every time. And then you feel so behind because you're like, I could do all these things at once. No big deal. And then without kind of realizing how much energy and how much actual time they take. Yeah, where it's like selective time blindness. Right, that's true too. If it's something you're excited about, it goes by in a heartbeat. But there's also task blindness, where instead of it feeling like it's not going to take a lot of time, it goes the other way, where it's like it seems like it's going to take everything you got. And it's really not that time consuming, or it's not that intense, but for some reason, it feels like it'll take the whole day. Like you'll put it off and do a million other busy things that you have to do probably as well before doing that one thing that would take like 5 minutes. Anyone ever feel like that? It's me returning anything to Amazon. I literally have a Kohl's down the road that I could drop it off at. And every time I do, I'm like surprised at how easy it is. But tell me how many windows for return I miss. Takes me 10 minutes. Or sometimes if you have like texts or emails to send to people, and it could be a quick reply, but it feels like, oh, I got to set aside time for that. And then before you know it, it's been like 3 days, and you're like, shit. Yeah, task blindness, so annoying. I would say task blindness is more annoying than time blindness, because at least time blind, you're still trying to be productive. Task blindness is like, oh my God, I can't even begin that, but really, it's not that deep. I'm that way with exercise. I need to set aside time a week ago. Right. It's like you have to like schedule it. It has to be this big to do rather than just like doing it. Laundry blindness. Oh my God, forget it. Or putting clothes away blindness. I swear it would take me 5 minutes to put some shit in a drawer, but it'll sit out in my guest bed for, I don't even know, probably till it's dusty and not even clean anymore. The worst. So we tend to do this with food. And especially if any of you guys have ever felt this way, where it's like, especially if you don't have, I have all the blindnesses, I definitely can relate to that, especially off my meds. So, but we do this with food, especially if you don't have, and this happens to a lot of us, if you're someone who doesn't really get hungry until you're starving. Like if you don't have that feeling of like I should get up and cook until it's like I need to cook. And then at that point you have like a kid that's waiting, a partner that's waiting, or it's like 9 o'clock at night and you're like, damn, I haven't eaten, or you're starving and you don't even want to think about food. And that's typically, and this happens a lot in the summer too, because we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants all day, especially if you have kids who are home from school, you know? Is this connecting? Because it is the shit show that is summer. And this can happen all year, but I find it to be particularly stronger when it's light until 9 o'clock at night out. Oh. So, yes, this is literally me. And then I grab something easy, quick, and empty calories. And it's not even like enjoyable at that point. You're just like, oh, let me just eat what I can eat. And then if you factor in food intolerances and allergies, it makes it an even more arduous process. And then we go back to what? Quote unquote, I should prep. I should meal prep. And then we're just beating ourselves up because we're like, how do I begin to do that? And it just feels like you buy a ton of groceries then because you have the best intentions. and then it goes bad because you don't even get to make it before, like in a timely fashion. It's a shit show. So, that being said, let's look at an example of one of the meal plans here. Okay. Now, as you look at this, you might get excited. You might be like, oh my God, look, all of the meals, the snack, everything's laid out. How great. But then the wires get crossed because of everything I just said. How do we implement? So first, let me ask you in the chat, how do you grocery shop, and like when? What do you have a special day that you get it? Do you just like order or shop as needed? What's your current structure around procuring your groceries? Tell me in the chat. How do you currently grocery shop? Usually I order curbside night before and pick them up after work the next day. Is it like a certain day, or is it like whenever you need stuff? Juana says once a month or as needed. Whenever I need stuff. We try to go every other weekend. Ship as needed or shop for a few things for me and a few for Kenny. He eats a lot of things I try not to. Trader Joe's whatever day I feel like. Whew, hopefully not on a weekend. And fixed with Whole Foods pickup. Usually I stock to see what I want is in stock, usually every 2 weeks. Hubby and I meal plan together for weekly dinners and shop Monday, Tuesday. Don't always stick to it, but we've gotten better recently. Usually 3 huge trips, tiny maintenance trips, 1 time a week to refill veggies. Okay, so when it comes to this stuff, we tend to look at the whole overall meal and we're like, how am I going to find the time to make this whole thing? When am I going to shop for it? But what I want you to do instead, because if you see what I have situated for you guys here, is I have the shopping list and then the recipes. So when I post this, what you want to do is you want to look at these and you want to you want to do pretend that you're running a restaurant. Essentially you are, right? Essentially we're all running our own restaurant. So you want to look at the list and you want to go and run inventory and see 1, what you have already, and 2, what you can swap out if you already have something similar. This is going to help you feel like you're not spending a fortune on having just a ton of, like, what do you want? 17 different types of cheese you're in your fridge. And again, this is all substitutable. Text me if you're like, I love the meal plan, but I got allergies. How do I make this work for me? And we can find alternatives. But the principles are what I want you to think of. And like, let's say you go through your fridge and you got, instead of Asiago cheese, you got cheddar. Okay. Unless you want to try Asiago that week, cross it off as one of the things that you have in stock and then use that instead that week. Let's say you got shredded mutts instead, or and you got shredded parm instead. That's okay. Use what you got. This way you don't feel like, oh my God, like it's not Bible, right? Like it's not like I have to do it exactly as Michelle said. Hell no. Because then that's just not in this economy, So then you go down to meat and seafood. And also free stuff. That has been my saving grace with ADHD, is as much as I would love to live the Nancy Myers lifestyle where I could like go to a farmer's market and have my little basket and like buy fresh produce. 1, shit's expensive, and 2, like I said, it's going to go bad before I even get a chance to make it. So if you have the ability to, I know some of us might not have the ability to for different reasons, but if you have the ability to get stuff in bulk, freeze it, get frozen vegetables, do whatever you can to think of it as in terms of longevity. So you don't have to buy a lot each trip. That's going to help get rid of some of the overwhelm as well. Then you look at your meat and seafood. Oh, you can't see anything. Is that better? On my end, it's so large. That's so annoying. Is that better? Sorry if you hear Sammy snoring in the background really loud.
At least to me, it kind of looks the same, but I took a screenshot, so I'll send you what I'm seeing on my phone at least. I don't know if anybody else is having that issue though.
Oh, no, it's really helpful. Tell me that because I'll show you on my end. It's like the whole screen, the text. Mine is small too. What the hell, Zoom? Okay. I was like, look at this innovation here. I'm going to post it up on the whiteboard and it's as large as it will fit now, but I am going to post this all in the page as well. So, and I'll post it in the chat too. So, it's just annoying because I wish you could see what it is that I'm reading, but okay. So here I have that's why you guys were scrolling on my whiteboard. And then it was making it look super small on my end. Why is this even this way? I feel like either I'm not setting it up right or Zoom's screwing up, but I
Are
will
you on
post it.
a computer?
What?
Are you on a computer?
Yeah.
That's probably why the interface is like they don't make it
Mm,
the word compatible or like it can't transition. I don't know. So
I'm good
annoying.
with food. I'm bad with technology, y'all. So sorry. But basically, I have it listed here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to post this list because it's written. Right now, I'm going to put it in the chat so you guys can look at it. Bear with me. It's going to be the most cracked out recording, but okay. Is the graphic also very small for you guys? Because I'll post that in the chat too. Okay, put the list up in there so you guys have it and you know what the hell I'm talking about. And then incoming graphic. Where the F? Okay, so I sent both in the general discussion just now, so you should have both. Sorry about that. Okay, so open that up so you can read along. But basically, you want to look at the list that I send you guys, and you want to go down and inventory what it is you have, what it is you're going to replace, things like that. And then move down, work on down onto the seafood, excuse me, meat and seafood section. And we have bacon. You want to do turkey bacon? Go crazy. You want to do breakfast sausage? Go crazy. You know, it's whatever you have, whatever you like, and whatever's on hand. If you want to change up different types of the deli meat that's here. If you know, seafood gets such a bad rap. So many people I talk to, so many clients I talk to are like, I hate seafood. And granted, shit's expensive these days. So I get it. But if you want to switch it out, switch it out. Put the protein that you feel comfortable with there. But you go down the list and you basically cross off what you got in your freezer and so on. And then produce, same thing. Go through here, you figure out what you got, what you don't got, and so on. When you get to the pantry staples, these lists I'm going to give you guys are always going to seem pretty intense because I'm just going to list out everything that's included in the meal plan. But it's not like you're going to get a single use out of these items. A lot of it's going to be stuff you have on hand already, like seasonings, you know, or if it's stuff you don't have on hand, or it's like mustard or olive oil, you know, if it's stuff you don't have on hand, you buy it once, you'll have it for a while. You're only going to use a little bit, you know, but it's all going to be on the list just for the sake of being thorough. So let me get back to my notes. So that's what I would do. I would try to find, like look at the list as an inspo. Don't look at it as an absolute must. I hope on the recording on YouTube at least this looks like what I'm looking at. That's so annoying, but we're working with it. All right. So you guys have that open on the in front of you from the chat, right? What do you feel like? And we'll get into habits on how to go about making these items because I think that's the other side of things. One side is like procuring the groceries, but then it's also like, okay, what do we do once we have the groceries, which I'm going to get to. But look at the meal plan I sent in the chat. What are you guys most excited about? What do you feel like you would want to try, but you're the most intimidated about? Tell me, what are you most excited to try? What are you most intimidated to try? Tell me in the chat. It was crazy looking, Susan, on my end. I was like, where did everything go? I thought it was lost forever. But yeah, I hope that on the recording it doesn't look all tiny and cracked out. I'm sorry, you guys are just staring at some weird tiny graphic on your end. I thought I was like all here with the technology today. I suppose not. But from the meal plan sent in the chat, what are you most excited to try and what are you intimidated to try? Anything crusted is intimidating. I could see that for sure. I feel like anything like breaded immediately to me, that's like that task blindness where I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna dirty a ton of dishes. I'm gonna get it all over my hands. It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna come out shitty. Yeah, I hate it when I see something breaded. I'm like, but where's that? The pistachio crusted salmon. I love that one because it's just so easy. Like those of you who were at the retreat, whether you're here live or you were watching the recording, I think everyone was so surprised because I literally took some Dijon mustard, I slapped it on that salmon, and I put crushed pistachios on top, and then I put it in the air fryer or the oven, and that was it. Ain't no breading happening here because also, I think that's where my neurodivergency comes in. Anything that has the likelihood to get my hands really dirty, I get anxiety about. I don't know if anyone can feel me there. Like breading, like dipping it in the egg and then the breading and everything. I'm like, but so I just won't make it. But that one is you brush it on so your hands don't have to touch anything. And then I take like a plate and dump out crushed pistachios and just plop the fish in it and put it in the oven. Easy peasy. I'm excited for let's see. I'm excited to try pistachio crusted fish, but salmon on the list is a no. I bet it would be good on cod or orange roughy. I've never tried that before, but yeah, no, it would be good on cod. It'd be good on cod. It'd be good on tilapia, and tilapia is extremely mild. It'd be good on flounder, which is also extremely mild and pretty cheap comparatively. I mean, is anything cheap? But you can even do it on scallops are a little tricky. They're really easy to overcook and they are expensive from what I've seen. Susan, one day if we meet, I'm going to make you salmon. Anyone who's told me there are issues with salmon, I totally get it. And then I'm always determined. I'm like, I'm gonna make you my salmon. Maybe that's just my ego. And I will not be offended if you do not like my salmon because you warned me ample times. I'm excited for the snack slash dessert because sweet tooth, I'm intimidated about everything else. And you know what? Like, also, I take for granted I've been cooking since I was a kid and I went to culinary school. So I know, and it's plenty of clients that we work with that it's okay if you just straight up, if you don't like cooking, if it makes you anxious. I mentioned this, I think like 2 Zooms ago when I did this. I don't remember even what 2 Zooms ago was because I don't remember yesterday anymore. But I feel like I mentioned Kitchen Confidence, the series that I did a couple years ago. I'm going to bring that back and do that again because I think that's a common problem is not everybody's going to get in the kitchen and just like rattle around with stuff, you know? So I want to teach some easy ways to feel really like effortless in the kitchen. But I'm always down to brainstorm sweets with you too. If you want to text me and you're like, I'm craving this kind of a dessert or whatever. I love brainstorming. I went to pastry school, so definitely don't hesitate to ask. I'm just intimidated due to all of my restrictions now. I struggle with lunch the most because my breakfast and dinners and snacks are pretty much the same every day. Okay, so I know you've given me a lot of restriction, a lot, you've told me a lot of your restrictions. What about lunch ends up being the most intimidating, like the hardest to implement? Is it like just figuring out what the hell to do? Is it the time?
Um, because my breakfast is usually like either a protein shake or just scrambled eggs. And I'll usually switch those between breakfast and lunch, but like I'm so tired of eating just those two things. But then
Mhm,
I don't want to like make a full like food in the middle of the day because that's usually
mhm,
when I'm trying to do stuff.
mhm,
Um, and I know people are like, you could just make extra dinner and just, but I have to freeze everything so it gets soggy.
mhm.
So I don't, that's
What
kind of what.
if What if you did it? This is just brainstorming. What if you did it like the European way? And what if you had your dinner earlier on in the day? Like if you had your dinner at lunchtime, let's say, and that was your meal, like your big meal, and then at night it's reserved for like sweet snacks, whatever. We can figure out something that's like a little bit more like make on the fly. Could that potentially work?
So you're saying like just skip lunch?
Not skip, but maybe swap. Like swap dinner and like have your dinner be your lunch. And then this way, because you're it's justifiable to like make a meal for yourself in the middle of the day because it's going to be your biggest meal of the day. And
Mhm.
inadvertently too, that's good for blood sugars, that's good for management because you're utilizing those like that those calories, those carbs for energy.
Mhm.
And
I
if you
mean,
have the time to be able to do that, then that's
yeah,
awesome.
I mean, might as well try it.
And then I can help you come up with some kind of easy like snack for yourself, like for when your dinner would be towards the end of the day. Because we tend to do that in general. We tend to have like the biggest meal of the day at night, but then we're not even utilizing that stuff because it's nighttime.
Exactly.
It just kind of goes along with our schedules easier that way. But if you're home during the day, like same here, I usually will eat the most. Like lately, I've been doing that where I'm not even as hungry at night. I tend to be hungrier during the day. And since I've just trained my body that way because I have more energy to do stuff during the day than I do at night. So potentially that could work. Um, I know you've texted me your restrictions before, but well, let's go over them and we'll try both. Maybe we'll try for like a week to see if you do your bigger meal during the day. And then, because I know you and I have our session tomorrow, so we can plan out like what that would be for a week. And then if that's like not feasible, then we can just try to find lunch ideas during the day.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Um, Susan, you said you struggle with dinner the most. What ends up being the thing that makes dinner the hardest for you? You can tell me in the chat or you can unmute. It's up to you. Huh, Kenny being so picky. So what ends up happening with Kenny being picky in terms of is it because you're like I'm tired to make two separate things? What ends up being the thing that you don't want to eat that Kenny is eating?
Okay, I admit it's easier. He
Yeah.
likes pizza and I mean he'll eat like if I make like I've made salad the night and put like he grilled cooks up some steak slices and just put over the salad for some protein, but like a lot of the stuff I like adding beans to everything, like black beans, chickpeas, I could utilize a lot more on the list if I was just cooking for me. But cooking
Okay.
for him, it's almost like I'd have to make two meals. And because like broccoli, he won't touch, cauliflower, he won't touch, like stuff like that. He's more of a, he'll eat Brussels sprouts, but you can only eat so many of those. I,
What if
I
you
just
think
have a
about
hard
it?
time.
If you think about it, though, this is kind of a good thing because it's almost like you're like he's picky, but if you think about it, he's not as picky. Meaning, what if you made the bulk of the meal for yourself, but then you made Kenny a pizza, or you made him something that's pretty standard that he's happy with? Instead of thinking of it as like I have to now make something for myself, like make the whole dinner, and then maybe there's something he'll pick on that he'll eat and he'll be like, actually, that's pretty good, and it'll be something new for him. But ultimately, it sounds like he has his safe foods. So if you know
Yeah,
that he has his safe foods, maybe you just have those on rotation as part of the plan, which I'm going to explain like ways to how to make these meals that might be easier. But if you just think of it as it's another side dish, but it's not a side dish, it's a Kenny dish.
yeah, yeah, because that's kind of what I was doing for a little while. I would make my, I would cook a lot of the things like mainly geared towards protein more and things like that, and then just like I'd add like mashed potatoes to his, or because he likes
Mhm,
potatoes, he likes French fries, and or I would just stick to a vegetable and a protein.
mhm.
So, and then I feel bad because I feel like I'm not feeding him enough. Because he, I mean, he seems fine, but I mean, who can eat pizza like 4 days a week and never gain any weight? I don't get it. It's not fair.
Oh man, that's just the way it goes. I don't
Yeah.
understand. It's just, I guess, chalk it up to the unfairness of life, I guess. But
No kidding.
right, and then they go to the bathroom regularly too. Like just not, no matter.
I was just thinking that yesterday. I'm like, God, I'm having a hard time going today, and he's been in there 3 times already. It's
Eating
not,
pizza.
I don't get it. Yeah, and I'm trying to eat healthy stuff, and he doesn't. And his brother said though his mom used to actually cook him separate meals, so that's probably why he's so picky. He's the baby, so
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I think a lot of people too, like growing up, I think, whether it's I don't know if anyone's heard of this now, it's becoming more and more popular, but ARFID, avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. Um, it's just like I feel like I was just talking about this with my friend who's a therapist, and it's recently added to the DSM-5. So it hasn't even been recognized as a disorder for a long time. For a long time, it was only regarded in children. It was only within very strict certain criteria, and now that's expanding. And avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, they're realizing is a lot more of a spectrum than we've realized, like with everything else. And basically, it just means extremely picky to the point of anxiety, refusal to try new things. And it's really hard when you have your safe foods and you've grown up, especially with our limited view on like what neurodivergent is. I do think that crosses over into foods, my God, all the time, with textures, flavors, smells, things like that. Food is extremely sensory, so I think the idea is it's almost like that task blindness. It's like, I don't want to have to be making separate meals. But you're not making separate meals so much as you're thinking of multiple sides. And if you make enough at the same time and you have them for multiple sittings or whatever, and those are the safe foods, then you can make it easier on yourself. And in principle, it seems like I'm making separate meals, but really it doesn't have to, as long as you have a way to prep it that's easy, it's not costing you a fortune, then maybe your methods just change. So,
I'm
well,
gonna work on that, see if I could do it that way. That might work actually. I'm gonna try it that way and think of it more like you said, my verbiage, is that the word? Kind of
yeah,
think of it and tell myself that way instead of telling myself I have to make two separate meals.
yeah.
Maybe then in my head I'm making it harder than it has to be.
It's very common. It's all perception, and it also we tend to make ourselves the problem, where it's like, "Ugh, if I could just go with the flow, if I could just eat this and stuff." But it's like we didn't ask to have these bodies, we didn't ask to be dietary pains in the ass. So if we think about it differently and we're like, how do we all suit what we got to suit? It you think of it as multiple sides versus I wish I could just fit the mold, and then it feels a little bit better. So, okay, so then same thing with Juana. You said it's very overwhelming. Plus, my family is so picky. Yeah, multiple sides. And again, we're going to talk about implementation to try and make it easy. Cooking fish in the pan, intimidating for me. I only started doing it this year and finding sugar-free desserts that don't taste like rubber or just plain weird. Now, cooking fish in the pan also intimidates me. I'll be honest with you, because I can't stand when things fall apart. Like it will, like I'll want to throw the whole pan across the room. If something sticks to the pan or it falls apart when I'm trying to flip it, or it doesn't get browned and it's just some soggy mess in a pan with like too much water, like for sure. That's why I like air frying and I like baking the most. Because if I can just put it on some parchment, season it up, stick it in the oven and forget about it, like that's my ideal, you know? And that's why a lot of the stuff on the list here, it seems intimidating, but it's not meant to be, because a lot of it is you just kind of set it and forget it kind of thing. Unless it's like ground meat, which you can make in the pan. It's a little bit easier. But I agree. If I don't have to touch it and it comes out delicious, I'm set. Yeah, I'm so about that. So about that. Okay, so let's go over some implementation. So the first thing is habit stacking. You want to think about it as if you're already in there, already in the kitchen, you already got to be doing something. You want to get as much quote unquote bang for your buck as possible. So now I don't mean like I also have an aversion to leftovers. I know that sounds really like first world problems and bougie. I don't know what it is. I've really tried to just like be disciplined, which we all know is bullshit and doesn't work. A lot of people are totally fine with leftovers, and I envy you so much. I really do. I have always like, especially seeing these postpartum, like, here's how to make a month worth of freezer meals for your postpartum days. So this way you have food. And I'm like, no matter how beautiful it looks, I'm still going to be skeeved. I don't know what it is. I mean, we do know what it is, right? It's the tism, but for me at least. But it just ain't going to happen. So I don't do the whole meal prepping ahead a bunch. I will do certain things ahead, like I'll make a dessert where there's a lot of it. I'll make, like the other day I did panna cotta, which is going to be in the next meal plan because it's just so friggin' easy and yummy. But it yields a bunch at once. They're like little cups. Okay. But I don't like making entire meals ahead of time. I like making components that make throwing it together easier. So, for example, I'm scrolling for me, not for you guys, as I've come to realize. But if you look on the meal plan on your end and you look at the egg muffins with spinach and avocado, tomato cottage cheese toast on low carb bread, and green tea. I also sent you guys the recipes in that shopping list. At the very bottom of the shopping list are all the recipes for this stuff. It's all there. But basically, you're just mixing eggs, throwing it in a tin, throwing it in the oven, keeping it in the fridge because there's only going to be a few days worth, and you air fry it, right? So whether you're going to be eating that multiple times, whether you make it the night prior, which I personally like, right? Like I make a bunch, throw it in the fridge for the next day. That I'm okay with. If it's like I have 5 days worth, then we're going to run into issues, right? So like I would prepare that breakfast for the next day when I'm making dinner that night. The frozen grapes and Asiago cheese under snack on Monday. If you look on your end, frozen grapes and Asiago cheese with sugar-free maple syrup. Throw a shit ton of frozen grapes in the freezer. Grab them as you go. That I can handle in terms of quote unquote leftovers, right? Sliced apple and peanut butter for a snack on Tuesday. That you do on the spot. Sugar-free options on nutrition. This goes back to, was it Gabrielle that said? Yeah, you said things that don't taste like rubber. My trick for that, I have a nutrition list on the page. I'll bump it up again. But you know how many shitty sugar-free snacks I went through to find ones I like? It's so personal, but there are so many out there. Why? Because there's a market for it. And now there's lots of people who want it and people want to make money. So the good thing is they're always getting updated. There's always new innovations coming out. You just got to find the one that you like. And then kind of like with my quote unquote safe foods, there are sugar-free ones that I like that I go back to time and time again because I know that they're my safe foods. I know that I like them, you know? I'll be more specific about what sugar-free options I put on here from now on. Hold on. I hate being so out of breath all the time. Okay. Lunch especially on here. I meant to write for like lunch on Tuesday or taco meat wraps. I meant lettuce wraps. So for that, you would just make your taco meat the night prior when you made your dinner. Because if you see here, dinner the night prior was the meatballs. So whether you're taking the meatball and you're crushing it up for your meat or you're just you're making some side ground beef for the next day, you're making a component that's going to be in another meal the next day rather than making that whole meal the night prior. Any histamine issues, I know we got to discuss separately and privately. We will figure it out, I promise. Because I know that that's a specific issue with leftovers at all, even if it's the night prior. So we'll come up with something innovative for that. But for those of you who are able to prep the night prior, think of components that you can habit stack. The Greek yogurts or the chia puddings. Who here has made chia pudding? What are your thoughts on it? Because that's one that I know we got to fiddle around with a little bit. I think it's like very personal, the texture. If you like it more liquidy or more jelly. Just curious, what are your thoughts on chia pudding? It's not bad. Yeah, that's generally the consensus. No one's excited about it when I ask them usually. They're like, it's all right. I was hoping it would be custardy, but it was too one note. Yeah, I think that I think there's either you can blend it or you can leave it like whole seedy. If I don't know if that makes sense. My brain has checked out for the night. But I think that it's like you definitely have to play with, like Sam said, you have to play with flavors because it's like if you've ever had shirataki noodles, it takes on the flavor of whatever you put it with, but it's so damn bland that it's if you're not punching it up with the extra add-ins that go with it, it's just so painfully boring, in my opinion, at least. And you can either blend it for more of a pudding consistency or leave it seedy for like a weird, almost like teeny tiny boba-esque quality to it. But I think it's very like, it can go a lot of different ways. It's definitely not an easy thing for people to like. I'm trying to think what else on here I can break down for you guys. My issue with Greek yogurt is it's too heavy for me. Oh, heavy in texture or heavy in flavor? Or both? Anybody with histamine issues, I make a bunch of chicken and freeze it immediately, and that helps. Same with veggies that are fine frozen and reheated. Definitely not cucumbers. No. I would think that would be mush central. Both and giving stomach issues. Okay, so Greek yogurt gives you stomach issues. So I'm trying to think what we can do. There's also there's like the dairy-free yogurts that you can get, and you can mix with dairy-free whipped cream, and you can lighten it that way and make it more of like a moussey kind of consistency rather than like the dense Greek yogurt kind of texture. And it can be a dairy-free route to go. Yeah, no, I've tried like the coconut based whipped creams are really good. Like they're shockingly really good. And you can even use coconut cream if you get coconut milk in the can, put it in your fridge, and then the next day open it up and skim off the solid from the top part of the can and whip that in your blender. And it's really, really, really good. So I hope that this helped. I hope this wasn't all over the place, but my biggest suggestion to you guys is break this down and look at it for yourself. Yes, it will fluff up like Cool Whip, Susan. Break this down and like really take the meal plan. If you can print it, print it. I don't know why. Like you can have it right in front of you, but there's just something about having it on paper for me. I don't know if that anyone else's neurodivergent brain works better like that, but there's just something about having it paper in front of me where I can just scribble notes all over it and jot it down and like make it look like a freaking football playbook, right? Where you like put arrows and shit all over it. But make this your own. Look at what you got in your fridge. Look at what you would normally bring, order from the grocery store or go grocery shopping for, and just kind of plug and play. And you don't have to make a specific menu, but have a game plan for yourself. And don't go into it thinking, okay, I'm going to sit down and do this on Monday and this is going to last me the whole week. By Friday, you're going to be like, what the hell was I thinking? I would do it day by day. And the night prior, when typically we're making our biggest meal a day, whether that's we're doing lunch, whether we're doing dinner, whatever, really, that's when I would game plan for the next day. So you're only doing like 2 days at a time rather than looking at it as an entire week, which is very intimidating. Again, we'd all love to be able to menu plan on a Monday for Monday through Friday. It's just not that realistic. So I don't know. Did this help? I hope this encourages more one-on-one conversations with us because this is very individual to everyone's schedule, preferences, allergies, families, but I hope it at least took the edge off of it feeling like it's completely undoable. And I hope it gives you a little bit of inspo for stuff that you guys can do at home. So if not, if this was like, girl, what was that cluster, that I totally get it. Text me. Text me, we'll work it out. All right. And aside from that, you guys are going to start to see this on the CCA page. I'm going to be posting this, the meal plan and the shopping list and everything on the page tomorrow, along with the recording. And then, like I said, comment, I'll write it out in the post to explain, but I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. And if you have any questions at all, feel free. If you don't want to text me, comment it in the thread as well. But let's build some community around this, especially in this insane time of year. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their night, and I will talk to you all soon. So, bye.